Okay.
When you're ready.
Are we ready? Right, thank you very much. Good evening, councillors, and welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee. Could I just remind councillors if they could be kind enough to switch to mute when they're not speaking? That would be helpful, just so the sound quality is a little bit better. And we obviously haven't got any apologies because we're all here. And I don't think we have any members of the public speaking, have we?
No.
Or any members of the public in attendance?
No.
So we can go straight to the agenda. So we've done apologies for absence. Are there any declarations of interest? Yes, Paul.
Okay, I've got two slightly different perspective on them. Firstly, 5/20/202963 1 Connaught Road. That is close to directly opposite to me, so I will stand aside on that one, if that's okay, and not
Yes, that's fine. Yes.
The vote. There's also 5/20/202852, which is 25 Connaught Road. That's about 100 yards down the street from me, and I have no view on it, and no view to perspective on it in terms of any impact on me, and I don't know the owners. I have actually been present at a previous discussion taken part on previous discussion on 25 Connaught Road. So if other members are happy, I am happy to take part in that one.
That one's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But I agree on 1 Connaught, since you say you're plonk opposite it. Thanks very much. Okay, moving on to minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of January, which have been circulated. Are you all content, councillors, that when it's possible to sign them, they can join the large pile of minutes that can be signed as a true record?
Yes,
thank you.
That's agreed.
Okay.
Item 4, public questions in accordance with Standing Orders 22 and 23. Do we have any?
No, Chair, we have no questions.
Item 5, letters of objection. Well, we have had this afternoon a whole series of letters of objection in respect of 54, is it Molesworth? No, it's not. What's it called? 54.
No,
Molescroft.
5 Molescroft.
5 Molescroft, 50 Molesworth. That's a children's book, isn't it? Molescroft. So we will take those letters of objection and bear them in mind when we get to that item. Thank you. Then moving on to item 6, which is for the applications registered the week ending the 8th of January. The applications registered the week ending the 15th of January, and the applications registered the week ending 22nd of January. Since we don't have any members of the public present, we'll just work our way through in order. So if we can start with item 5, 2020-2599, and I'll just hand over to you, Mim, for your comments.
Right, okay. Now, this application we have actually seen before, but this is a new one. It is Unit C at Batford Mill. It formally received permission to a change of use class to sui generis in order to carry out a canine creche facility in 2017. The current proposal states that the property is now vacant and has been since July of 2020. The application is to change the class usage from sui generis to Class EG, formerly known as Class B1 Business, which covers categories B1A offices and B1B research and development and B1C industrial for a residential area. The proposal has not detailed what type of business is intended to be carried out at the property in the foreseeable future. Consider no objection.
Thank you. just as a matter of interest, since it came in sui generis, has it always been that, which or is it completely new that it's coming back to the categories it is, or did it change category previously, or has it always previously been sui generis?
No, it had a change of use to sui
It did have a change of use,
and I think it's going back to its original.
so I was going to say back to its original status. Okay, that's fine. Do I have any comments, councillors? No. Looks fine to me. I know the place. Actually, I think I opened it when it became a doggy daycare centre, and it's not a huge site, and it's not sort of near anybody. So as far as I'm concerned, it's fine. So could we all agree that's okay? Objection. Thank you.
Yep, agreed.
And moving on to 5/2020. 2827 at 9 Marquis Close.
Right, we've got some pictures for this. Thank you, Hev. Right, this particular property is a brick-built property and is set at the end of a cul-de-sac in a quiet close, which is made up of a mixture of bungalows and two-storey properties, and is attached to a group of terraced pebble-dashed buildings. The rear of this two-storey house is set back from its attached neighbour. The application is for a two-storey rear extension, which will extend to the neighbour's rear building line and bring the host dwelling in line with its neighbour's rear elevation. There are no increases in bedroom accommodation, merely an increase in size. Therefore, there will be no impact on parking. There appears to be no detrimental impact on the attached neighbouring property. It is unclear, however, as to whether any trees or hedges at the rear of the property will be affected by the proposal. So basically, I'm saying that I don't feel that there's any problem with it, and I've said consider no objection, but councillors do need to consider whether they think there is any impact on the shrubbery at the rear of the property, which goes on to a very small roadway.
Well, I suppose we could always add in some wording to the effect of no objection, subject to no adverse effect on any trees or hedges, or words to that effect, or without mitigation, if you like. Councillors, any comments? Yes, Councillor Court.
It's just a brief one about the trees and the reference that it's unclear whether any trees or hedges will be affected by the proposal. As we go on through the agenda items later, we do pick up on several occasions where we comment upon tree loss, etc. And so I'm just a bit concerned about that, whether we put something in, say subject to whatever, but
Yeah.
we should ask. Otherwise, it comes the route out of
Yes.
it is to simply never comment on it.
Yes.
Just
No,
more
I
of a
know, I agree
dramatic
with that. I
principle.
think we can just put some wording in, sort of
Yeah.
saying no objection, subject to no adverse impact on trees or hedges.
Yeah.
Any other councillors want to comment, or are we all happy with that? Okay, we'll just go to
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, this one is 5/2020 2852 at 25 Connaught Road.
Right. This one, we've got some pictures for this, I think, here. This property has recently gained planning permission for first floor accommodation in the loft space and a two-storey side extension, demolition of the existing conservatory and alterations to openings. The effect of the previously permitted proposal has changed the design of the existing bungalow into what appears to be a small two-storey house. However, it remains compact on the site. This application is to raise the roof of the property to facilitate the creation of a first floor, add an additional bedroom and increase it somewhat by way of single-storey extensions on the front, side and rear of the property. This new proposal will increase the size of the property considerably, and although the single-storey elements do not appear to be an issue to neighbouring properties, along with the proposed increase in height to the roof element, and with the insertion of a new pitch roof to bedroom 3 on the side elevation of the property, the increase in the overall footprint appears to be an overdevelopment of the site. There is a proposed increase in bedroom accommodation from 2 to 3, with on-site parking shown as unchanged. This appears to be satisfactory. There appears to be no change to the position of the rear windows on the first floor elevation, and no additional windows have been incorporated into the design, which would have a detrimental impact on neighbouring properties. No trees appear to be affected by the proposal. No letters of objection have been received either. Consider express concern that the proposal is an overdevelopment of the site, may dominate neighbouring properties, creating a detrimental impact and lack of amenity and privacy.
Thank you. Councillors, could I invite comments? Paul?
Thank you, Chair. I think I recognise this. Is this the one where there's effectively mirroring properties and we seem to get alternating applications?
Yes, it's 2 very small bungalows tucked right at the back. There's up a narrow drive.
I mean, I almost feel as though it would dominate its neighbour if its neighbour remains as it is. But I'm never quite sure which house it is. You know, they seem to be coming back and forward. So if next door is doing something similar, then I guess it would seem reasonable.
Yes, except you can't take a planning decision based on what might happen in the future.
Yeah, that's true. Although I don't know whether that other one is already, planning permission is already granted, but I don't know. I'm not too bothered by it.
Can I ask, Nigel?
Thanks, Chair. Yes, Jen and I tended to agree, having looked at the details, it's possibly overdevelopment. It does seem to be an awful lot of bulk and mass on a relatively small looking site. But yeah, I tend to agree with what's written in the text. Yeah, might be slightly overdevelopment, but on what grounds you can reject it, I'm not very certain. Can you reject it in overdevelopment?
It's quite a small site, and you've got those 2 at the present. They are very small properties. Whether it's enough to refuse, or whether I'd be inclined to go with the officer's recommendation, and then the LPA can take a view on it. Does anybody else want to comment, or are we happy to go with that recommendation? I've just asked if people can signify if they're happy to go with the recommendation. Thank you.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, 5, 2020, 22, 22, 74 at 2830 Cold Harbour Lane.
Right, okay. Now, this site on Cold Harbour Lane has current usage as light industrial stroke office use and is still being used as such. It recently had a planning application refused by the local planning authority for A1 stroke retail usage, which would not be possible for this site, which is a designated employment location. The application, which has been submitted, shows details of changes to openings on the building, new signage positions, reconfiguration of the site and the car park, new fencing and extension to an existing crossover. There are no major alterations in the proposal and no changes to the existing highway. There are no proposed changes to the use of the property or parking capacity. The proposed changes detailed in the application are stated as: on the ground floor, the existing delivery openings are to be infilled on the northwest elevation and proposed delivery openings and storage area on the northeast side. A proposed side and canopy entrance on the ground floor side elevation with new signage. The first floor elevation is proposed to house windows along the northeast and northwest elevations and signage above the existing on the northwest elevation on the southeast and southwest elevations. 3 new windows appear to have been added to the flat roof also. Fencing on the boundaries is shown on the proposal, which incorporates 1800mm timber fencing on the southeast side of the site and 1800mm metal palisade fencing on the southwest side of the site, where some existing palisade fencing can be seen. Parking provision appears to be sited at the rear of the site, with an additional side vehicle entrance sited on the southeasterly side, which appears to be currently parking for Shelford Fabrics. This will enable a two-way access for vehicles, one for ingress and one for egress. Front parking area is to be retained for 4 vehicles. The site is within 20 metres of the River Lee, and therefore a flood risk assessment has been submitted, which shows that there appears to be no planned changes to surface water drainage and no changes to the existing riverbank, with any necessary measures being taken regarding building works to prevent flood risk. With regard to pollution, the application states there'll be no alteration to the lights outside of the buildings, and no trees will be affected by this application. Consider no objection. Thank you.
Do I have any comments or queries, councillors? I mean, looks okay to me. It's really, it's almost sort of cosmetic, I think, the changes they're making. So are we happy then to go straight to the vote on that one? No objection. Okay. Thank you. And then 5/20/22/883 does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. So we can move on to 5/20/22/892 at 14 Kinsbourne Close.
Right. This one I noted on the website, there was a letter of objection from number 12, Kinsbourne.
Yes, so just the one, I think, just one letter.
Yeah. So this property is set in a quiet road in Harpenden and has a public footpath running alongside it. The proposal put forward in this application is to infill an undeveloped area at the rear and side of the property on the ground floor elevation in order to extend the dining area and to increase the bedroom accommodation on the first floor elevation. A pitched roof is to be incorporated in the existing first floor rear dormer, with a new flat roof to the existing single-storey rear extension in order to create a roof terrace. The proposed first floor rear elevation shows a Juliet balcony in bedroom 4 overlooking the garden, with a large side window in the same room, which appears to open onto the suggested roof terrace area. The windows of bedroom 1 also open up onto this area. There are concerns that the large side window and the proposed roof terrace would be out of keeping with the surrounding area and would cause a detrimental impact on the amenity and privacy of neighbouring properties. The application shows an increase in bedrooms from 3 to 4, with on-site parking provision remaining sufficient at 1 garage and 2 parking spaces. The application states that there will be no trees harmed by this proposal. Consider express concern with regard to the proposed 2-storey rear extension, along with the inclusion of the Juliet balcony, the proposed creation of the roof terrace and the proposed side window in bedroom 4 and the rear window in bedroom 1, which may pose a potential detrimental impact on neighbouring properties in terms of loss of amenity and privacy.
Thank you. Right, can I invite comments, please, councillors? Nobody's. I mean, Councillor Drake.
I just want, it's difficult to tell from the plans about the roof terrace, which will be the major cause of any loss of amenity, it seems to me, and whether there's any kind of screening proposed. Mind you, the screening itself might be unsightly. As far as that terrace, but I would be a bit concerned about the creating a roof terrace. There, whether that's enough to refuse, I don't know, but there certainly would be a concern.
Yes, I think I'd certainly be concerned about loss of privacy, and I think it's probably it's quite difficult to see how you would put in some sort of screening at first floor level.
Exactly. If Heather, if you want to go back to one of those plans, I think it was the last one you showed.
This one.
I marked it on there. Yeah, that one. If you can see where I've put the crosses, that's it. Those ones there. They show the. That's it. On the actual roof terrace, where you can see the roof window on the right-hand side of the property. There's two little red crosses, and you can see the side window and the bedroom rear window. That's it, around that area there. Yeah, that's it. And those are the windows that could well cause the loss of amenity, because they're up high, they're facing towards the neighbouring property, and those are the windows that I'm concerned about.
Yes, I mean, I think I'd have concern about a first floor combination of a first floor terrace and the Juliet balcony and a very large window. Does seem to be rather excessive and potential to overlook. So, I mean, I think it's a matter of whether we think to express concern is strong enough, or whether we should really consider refusing on the basis that it's of potential loss of and the potential impact on the neighbouring properties in terms of loss of amenity and privacy. I'd be quite concerned about the loss of privacy.
Chair, Councillor
Councillor Cousin.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, I mean, that side window, the window sort of going sideways. I mean, it strikes me that it's not integral to the whole design, so you could sort of be neighbourly and still get what you want without having that window, I would think. But then again, I'm not sure, is the letter of objection concerned about loss of, say, privacy to their garden, or is it, I don't know whether there are any side windows, because if there are no side windows on the neighbour's house, then that side window is only looking into
They mentioned that there was loss, they would be overlooking their garden and their I think it was their patio area, but I'm pretty sure it's their garden that they were concerned about overlooking.
I mean, normally people have rear first floor windows, looking back, don't they? So I guess for me, it'd be the side window that, if anything, I'd be concerned about.
Yes, I think you could also argue that there is a difference between having a window and a terrace you're sitting on.
Yeah, true.
Because I mean, in a bedroom, yes, because I mean, presumably if they're having a terrace, they tend to use it. I mean, I'd certainly be inclined to go for express concern. I mean, are you happy, councillors, if we go with the recommendation of express concern? Do you feel that's strong enough? Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go with the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
A 5/2020-2847 does not meet the criteria for us to need to consider it. So moving on to 5/2020-2860 at 14 Pennycroft, which I seem to recall from way back when.
Okay. Right, we've got some pictures for this one. This property is set in a tree-lined road, which is made up of mainly brick-built two-storey properties, and is situated on the bend of the road, which also leads into Prospect Lane, where the dwellings vary somewhat. Previous planning permission was gained in 2016 for the raising of the roof in order to create second floor accommodation. This resulted in a larger looking property than is usual for this road. A new application has now been submitted and is for a reduced proposal. The major change in this application is for the remodelling of the exterior of the front and back elevations of the property, incorporating cladding made up of plain fibre cement weatherboard, which, although different to the street scene, does not appear to detrimentally impact it. Canopy porch is to be extended slightly at the front, and the driveway is to be reshaped in order to allow for cars to be able to enter and exit in forward gear. This appears to involve the reduction and remodelling of some of the existing flower beds and the introduction of others. Concerns are expressed with regard to the protection of the tree, which is sited on the front corner of the property. No details have been included in the application, as to how this tree will be protected. Consider no objection subject to the appropriate root protection measures being put in place to protect the tree at the front of the property.
Thank you. Any comments, councillors? Councillor Cousin.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, this is quite fairly close to where I live, and there are two although it's not that in keeping with the street scene, there are two very, very similar houses in the locality, so it wouldn't be unique by any means.
No, and although it is sort of slightly different to the street scene, it is on, I think, a fairly large plot and set well back, so I'm not sure that it would be that obtrusive. I don't think so. I think what does need wording in about the tree. Does anybody else have any comments about it? Are we happy to go with recommendation? Thank you.
Yes, agreed.
And then we'll go on to 5/2020-2861, which does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. And then on to 5/2020-2864 at 36 Piggott's Hill Lane.
Right, okay. Okay, this proposal is showing details for a two-storey side and rear extension on a semi-detached property sited on a busy road made up of various style dwellings. Detailed also on the application is a single-storey rear extension which is proposed to be sited on the opposite side of the host property. The two-storey side and rear extension is pulled in from the side boundary but has failed to be pulled back from the front building line. Due to the siting of the neighbouring detached dwelling house, which is set back from the host property, concerns are expressed with regard to the possible loss of amenity due to the two-storey side extension. The application shows an increase in bedrooms from 3 to 4, and although a previous application in 2018 was permitted for an extension to an existing dropped curb, has failed to display any type of parking provision whatsoever. Consider recommend refusal with regard to lack of parking provision within the proposal and express concern regarding possible loss of amenity to the neighbouring detached property due to the size and scale of the two-storey side and rear extension.
Thank you. All right, councillors, can I invite comments? I think Councillor Cowley was first.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just begin by asking a brief question about the previous item, 10 East Common? Is that in the conservation area? And if so, why isn't it meeting the criteria if they're building a garden studio? Is it a very small garden studio? Because I know we've discussed things that are being built in conservation area gardens before in this committee. I was just curious about that, why that wasn't meeting the criteria.
I think because we don't normally discuss garden studios, I just took it as read that we wouldn't be discussing this one and we would leave it to the local planning authority to look at this one.
Yes,
I suspected that was the answer, but I had a vague recollection of having discussed something in a garden before because it was.
We did, and there was one previously in very much in the conservation area. It was down near. I think it was those cottages down in the public hall, but I think the one you're thinking about, it was let's say, an extremely large garden shed that looked more like it could be used as additional dwelling space.
Quite possibly. I just wanted to make sure. Just on the Piggott's Hill one that I should have been discussing rather than allowing my curiosity about 10 East Common to take the floor. Yeah, no, I think I don't think if we're talking about an extension to a property with an increase in bedrooms and no parking on an already very difficult road in terms of parking and traffic, I just don't think I don't think we can do anything else than recommend refusal. So I think the recommendation is fairly clear.
Yes, particularly given where it's located on Piggott's Hill Lane, which I think is near where one of the bends is and is not not very good visibility either for traffic. I think it was Councillor Turnbull and then Councillor Drake.
Thanks, Chair. I concur. The other point I'd also add is just looking at the plan, it looks as if is the building being brought forward, or is it merely part of the building is being brought
No,
forward?
it's being
So
brought forward.
It's going to stick out substantially ahead of
Yes.
number 42. It's a funny numbering. Oh, it must be, because it goes from 36 and it jumps to 42. So the next property must be
Yes,
38 or 40.
yes. No, it
Doesn't
looks
say.
like it's coming
Doesn't
forward
actually-
quite significantly.
Doesn't tell you the
significantly, it's
number.
coming forward anyway.
Mm.
Yes.
So I think that's another reason for objecting.
Councillor Drake.
Yeah, the point I was going to make has already been made, that there's just simply no real room for parking on that road. There's already virtually always on-street car parking all the way up that road, to the extent that most of those houses have had to have white lines marked outside to stop people parking actually in front of the drop curbs. And if you look at the pictures, there's simply not the room for any kind of car parking at all, particularly with the new plans.
I mean, I think, yes, I think we're all agreed on the parking. I've just wondered whether we want to express concern or whether we want to also refuse due to the size and scale of the side and rear extension and its possible impact on the neighbouring property. Are we minded to refuse? Councillors would oh, did you want to comment? No, Councillor.
I'd agree. I'd merely second that we refuse.
Yes. So, councillors, could I ask to signify if we're minded to refuse on both grounds? Thank you.
Unanimous.
So yes, so that's fine. So if we just put in wording to also to rather than express concern that we're also refusing on the basis of the loss of amenity due to the size and scale.
Size and scale. Yeah. No
Thank
worries.
you. Then 5/20/22/893, 6 to 8 Pigots Hill Lane. Ooh, hang on. Which does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. And similarly for 5/20/20/2478 and 2479. So we can then move on to 5/20/20/2863, 16 Townsend Lane.
Okay, you can have some pictures here. Right. This property is sited in the Harpenden Conservation Area on a road of mixed design and size dwellings. The proposal is for the addition of 2-storey side extensions, single-storey side and rear extensions, and reconfiguration of the roof to provide loft accommodation. The height of the existing building appears to be retained, but both sides of the dwelling are proposed to be infilled by 2-storey side extensions. The proposed roof line and fenestration details appear to copy the windows on the existing first floor elevation. There will be an increase in bedrooms from 3 to 5, with parking provision of a garage, which appears to have been increased in size alongside 3 parking spaces. Single-storey additions are shown with flat roofs, which would be out of keeping in the conservation area. However, the application states that these are to be covered with sedum in order to provide sustainable habitats for birds and insects. A previous planning application for tree works on the site has recently been permitted, which removed a number of trees in the rear and front garden. The application appears to show further removal of hedging and shrubbery in order to install hard landscaping. Consider expressed concern that the size, scale and design may not be in keeping with the Harpenden Conservation Area. Concerns also expressed regarding the possible removal of hedging in the conservation area. So we're on the map, on the picture that you can see on your screens at the moment. I've put some arrows in where it's showing proposed, they've put a lot of hard landscaping in, and along the side of the property there is currently planting, and that looks like it's going to be removed and more hard landscaping is going to be put in.
Yes. Well, I invite comments. I must say I was concerned looking at the drawings, certainly one of the side elevations. It looked very, I'm not quite sure of the right word, it looked like a large slab. For better description. So do I have any comments? Councillor Turnbull and then Councillor de Court.
Thank you, Chair. If you look at the road, I know the road, the property down from it, which would be number 14, has also recently been extended significantly in much the same way. But this one, I tend to agree with you. I'm not quite certain of what this design is going to look like when it's built. It looks pretty odd in the plans.
Yes, it certainly does.
And certainly in that I know number 10 down the road, when that was redeveloped, the officers or the planning inspector were very concerned about retention of hedges, etc. So I feel we should be applying the same criteria to this particular.
Yes.
I'm not against what they're trying to do. I'm just questioning. The design looks odd, and I'd like to see some of the hedges retained or at least replaced.
I think with the hedges and conservation area, I've got considerable concerns about the design. Councillor de Court.
Yeah, I just want to make an observation, particularly if we're going to see more of it, of this hard landscaping, because there seems to be a trade-off there with reference to the flat roofs and the seeded areas for birds and insects. But if we put a lot more hard landscaping in, that's likely to create a bigger flooding problem.
Absolutely.
I don't know where that sits within general planning rules, but there comes a point where you're taking out trees, shrubs, bushes,
yes,
and that must, which are known to help with flooding. So I don't know whether I don't get a comment from someone, or we should highlight that somewhere. I don't know if it's anywhere in the neighbourhood plan that's not covered, but it does concern me.
Thank you. I think so. I would go for refusal both on the basis of the size, scale and design, and not in keeping with, or may not be in keeping with, the conservation area, and also in respect of the removal of hedging in the conservation area. We may, I don't know from its location, to an extent, you're quite right, there is a problem with hard landscaping. Maybe we could also just put in, concern was expressed that the extent of the higher hard landscaping could potentially lead to a flooding issue. I don't know if it will on that site or not, but it obviously is an issue with increasing amount of properties just sticking in large amounts of hard landscaping. So are we happy to go with that? Um, 5/2020-2872 at 27 Bowers Way does not meet criteria for consideration by the committee, so we can move on to 5/2020-2875 to a 2-storey front extension at 14 Broadfields.
Right. Yeah. I don't have got any pictures for this. Oh yes.
Yes, you have. Yes.
Okay. Right. The proposal for this property is to increase the footprint of the garage and porch, which are sited on the front of the dwelling, and to extend the existing front bedroom and landing on the first floor elevation in order to enlarge the current accommodation area with the inclusion of an ensuite. There do not appear to be any increases in the number of bedrooms, and therefore current parking provision is satisfactory, with sufficient room for vehicles along the side of the dwelling house. No trees will be affected by this proposal. Consider no objection.
Thank you. Do I have any comments, or can we go straight to the vote on this one? It looks okay to me. Okay, so if we okay to go with the recommendation of no objection. Thank you.
Thank you.
5/2020-2888 at the old apiary site and Hatching Green does not meet criteria for consideration by the committee. 5/2020/2866, which is a variation of condition, similarly does not meet criteria for consideration by the committee, and similarly for 5/2020/2929. And then we'll then move on to 5/2020/2963 and note that Councillor de Court will be sitting out on this one.
Okay, right. This application, this is a semi-detached property positioned at the beginning of a road consisting of both detached and semi-detached dwellings, which appear to have had modifications carried out to them of varying degrees. The proposal to extend at the side and rear of this property with part single, part two-storey extensions does not appear to conflict with its neighbouring property or the street scene. The two-storey element of the rear extension is inset from the boundary of number 3 Connaught Road in order to deflect any detrimental impact in terms of loss of light, privacy and amenity. There appears to be sufficient space at the side of the property for the side extension, and this does not suggest any detrimental impact on the street scene due to its distance from the property boundary. The single-storey front extension extends the front lounge area to incorporate the porch and appears to copy similar properties in the road. There are no increases in bedroom habitation, and the proposal appears to merely increase accommodation size. Parking provision is therefore unaffected. There do not appear to be any trees or hedges affected by the proposal, and the proposed extensions remain subservient to the original dwelling house. Consider no objection.
Okay, do I have any comments, councillors, or are we happy to go straight to the vote and agree that no objection?
Yeah.
I can't see you all, but I'm assuming everybody.
There we go.
Yes, thank you.
Agreed, yeah.
Thank you. Right, we've dealt with that, Councillor Court, so we can welcome you back.
Might not have expected it to be so quick.
Well, there wasn't a lot to say. Like, okay, right, fine. So we'll move on to 5/2020/2939 19 Miley Close, which does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. And then on to 5/2020/2828 at 58 West Common.
Okay, right, we've got some pictures for this one. Now, this property is sited in a private road on the corner of West Common and Redbourne Lane in the Harpenden Conservation Area, and incorporates a part of West Common in its ownership as detailed on the site plan. It currently has a 1.5 metre brick built boundary wall to the front of the property, which finishes slightly around the corner into West Common. On the neighbouring side of the property, there is a 2 metre brick wall running the length of the boundary. The proposal is for a new 2 metre boundary wall, which is shown to run from the corner of Redbourne Lane along the curtilage of the property on West Common until it meets a mass of existing 2 metre foliage. A holly hedge is suggested to be planted along the outside of the wall to replace the existing mixed hedging, which currently consists of holly, hornbeam, laurel and ivy. The application shows that a new smaller crossover is proposed to replace the existing and will be sited next to the road signage post at the beginning of West Common, and will also include a sliding gate. Within the application, there are plans to remove a beech tree sited at the front of the property and also a cherry tree in the rear garden. The arboricultural report explains that the beech tree is diseased, potentially dangerous, and also captures on the overhead utility wires. 2 new trees are to be installed further down on the side of the property. A new summer house is to be sited at the side of the property against the proposed 2 metre brick wall. Although the position of the crossover has moved, there appears to be sufficient amount of visibility and width for movement of vehicles without conflicting pedestrians. Policy 34 of the St Albans District Plan refers. The proposed 2-metre wall and holly hedging does not appear to conflict with the street scene or have a detrimental impact on the Harpenden Conservation Area. The application appears to meet the policies of the Harpenden Neighbourhood Plan and the St Albans District Local Plan. Consider no objection.
Thank you. Do I have any comments, or are we happy to go with that? It looks okay to me, particularly since it's nice to see an application when people have taken note and are replacing trees without having to be asked. So are we happy to go with no objection?
Yes, agreed.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Um, 5/20/20 at 6 Coleswood Road. That's one we've seen before.
Yes, and there were 2 letters of objection on the St Albans website from the 2 neighbouring properties. This proposal is a resubmission for a new 2-storey dwelling house on land to the side of the application address. This area of land leads on to Kingcroft Road and hosts a garage and some outbuildings. The original application was refused by the local planning authority for a number of reasons, including scale, massing, design, cramped layout, and lack of off-street parking. This proposal shows a reduction to a 2-storey dwelling with the removal of the originally proposed loft accommodation. There appears to be provision of 1 bedroom and study instead of the previously submitted 2 bedrooms and study. The design and scale of the proposed dwelling has been in that the first floor element has been inset from neighbouring property number 5 Kingcroft Road in order to prevent loss of amenity. Height to the building has been reduced by incorporating flat roofs on both sections of the build. The proposal states that the flat roofs will be covered with sedum in order to assist with preventing rainfall runoff. The overall building height is shown as 5.425 metres. The provision of 1 parking space on the frontage of the property is shown on the application. Amenity space at 28 square metres is below the expected 40 square metres, which is acknowledged by the applicant. There'll be no loss of trees resulting from this application. Consider, although some of the previous reasons for refusal have been addressed, concerns are still expressed that the design and cramped appearance of the proposed property, along with the lack of sufficient amenity space for potential occupiers, are not in keeping with the character of the area and the street scene.
Thank you. Can I invite comments? I'd just say it's an exceedingly constrained site in which to try and put a building. Councillor Drake, then Councillor Cowley, then Councillor Cousin.
Yes, it seems to me this is a classic case of trying to squeeze a quart into a pint pot. There simply isn't that, you know, the room, and they're creating an extremely small and cramped dwelling onto a site. The design is not attractive against the other houses in that particular. No, it's not a particularly attractive street. It has to be said. It is out of place. But I really don't believe that there's the space there to give the appropriate amenity or put a dwelling in that particular plot.
Thank you. Councillor Cowley.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to echo a lot of what Councillor Drake said, but also add a couple of points. So firstly, so far as I can tell from having looked at it, this proposal takes away all of the parking space from the existing dwelling on a road in which, if you can find on-road parking on Coleswood Road, you're doing very well. So
Miracle.
I just think on that basis alone, I'm inclined to recommend refusal for this application. I also think, as Councillor Drake said, I think it's pushing it quite a lot, even with this reduced version, to not for this to be a massive overdevelopment of what is essentially a garage.
Yes, I'm just saying, yes, it looks basically like trying to build a house on a drive.
Yeah.
Councillor Cousin.
Yeah, I was just going to echo all those comments. I mean, even sort of, if you like, in the most expensive parts of London, where this is done a little bit more because the property prices, you know, I don't even think I would see this in London. So I definitely just agree with everything everyone
Okay.
said.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to comment, or are we agreed? I think what I'm hearing is that we would I think go for refusal. Have we agreed that we will refuse? Yes. I'm not sure if yes.
Agreed. Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll refuse that one on the basis previous reasons for refusal have not been fully met, and we can express and continue to express the concerns about the cramped site, etc. 5/2020 2976.
Okay.
Which is for Boston House,
Okay.
Range Court Road.
Okay. Right. This application is for extensions to a property which is set in the Harpenden Conservation Area on the edge of the Greenbelt. The property is sited on a large plot and backs onto a neighbouring property, which in itself is set well back from the rear boundary. All of the associated neighbouring properties are sited on relatively large plots of land. The application shows the demolishment of the existing garage and attached single-storey extension and the rebuilding of the garage on a refined footprint with a single and two-storey extension next to it, a single-storey rear extension to house the boot and utility areas, a two-storey rear extension in order to increase bedroom capacity, another single-storey extension on the opposite side of the property for dining and family use, and a single-storey extension on the front of the property to utilise as a shower room. The increase in size of this property will increase the bedrooms to 5 with a single bedroom annex downstairs. With a garage and parking area on the front of the property, there appears to be sufficient parking provision for the additional bedroom accommodation. A bat survey has been carried out, which found no evidence of bats rooting in any parts of the property. An arboriculturalist report states that no trees will need to be removed during any building works should permission be given, and concludes that root protection measures should be put in place to protect any trees that are in the vicinity of the proposed extensions. The proposed size and scale of the proposed extensions do not appear to be out of keeping with the Harpenden Conservation Area and do not appear to have any detrimental impact on the street scene or surrounding area. The heritage statement included with the application takes account of the need for the property to be updated, but that it will be done sympathetically and in line with the requirements of the conservation area. Consider no objections subject to the appropriate use of materials in the conservation area.
Thank you. Do I have any comments, councillors? Are we happy to go with the recommendation? It looks okey-cokey to me. Yep.
Yes.
Agreed.
Thank you. That's no
Thank you.
objection. 5/2020 2992 at 54 Coleswood Road.
Okay. Letter of objection on St Albans website from number 52 Coleswood, who had issues with the parking provision and size and impact on the amenity in the street scene. This property is set in a small, tight road, which appears to have insufficient parking capacity for its dwelling, with some properties having only one parking space and some having none at all. This particular property currently has a garage and one parking space available. The application is for a single-storey rear extension, which expands along the entire width of the property, a small single-storey front extension on the right-hand side of the property, and a first-floor front extension over the garage. The proposal shows that the existing 3 bedrooms will remain upstairs. The first floor extension housing a new bathroom with the 3rd bedroom being increased in size. Ground floor front extension is to extend the living area and change it into bedroom number 4. The garage will be used as a store, and it appears that there will be parking provision made on the frontage of the property for 2 parking spaces. The first floor front extension over the garage is set away from the neighbouring property, and with the fact that the host property is set back on its site from the neighbour's building line, it does not appear to have a detrimental impact in terms of loss of amenity. This property is already different in design to other properties in the road, and therefore the proposed additions would not necessarily have an incongruous look on the appearance of the street scene. Consider expressed concern with regard to insufficient parking provision for the increase in bedroom capacity.
Thank you. Councillors, I mean, I'd be quite concerned about the parking because it's hugely problematic parking on Coleswood Road. Councillor Cowley.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, with the garage being used as a store, if it's still being called a garage, would that count as a third parking space? Because if it does, I would be inclined to think it's reasonably okay. But if it doesn't, then I think either express concern or refusal. I just thought I should clarify that one.
Well, it reads as if they're saying it's going to be used as a store and not as a garage. But Councillor Cousin as well had to end up.
Thank you, Chair. I was only going to say that it looks to be one of those garages that now wouldn't really fit a modern car.
Yeah.
But if they're not doing anything to it, I think you'd have to say it's a garage. But
technically, it's a garage if you're not doing anything to it.
Yeah.
Councillor Drake, whilst Mim's looking up that.
Yes, I'm not so sure how you're even going to create the two parking spaces on obviously it's parking space for one at the moment on the front, but the second one, because if you see the picture of that, firstly it's extremely tight anyway on that road to drive anything into any drive, and secondly right in front of the wall, if they were thinking of any access there is both the cable cabinet and I think what I presume is the telecommunications cabinet. So I'm not so sure how you would actually get to two working parking spaces anyway in front of that particular property. And of course, if you did, you'd have to also stop the on-street parking, which is usually all the way up Coleswood Road at the moment.
Well, quite. Can we see, do the plans show the garage as a garage, or do they show it as a store?
They actually physically calling it storage.
Well, in that case, I would be inclined, given the street furniture as well, I would be inclined to refuse.
Okay.
But that's my view. I'll ask councillors, are you minded to agree that we refuse?
Okay.
Yes, thank you. 5/2020-2943 at 14 Amenbury Lane does not meet criteria for consideration by the committee. Similarly for 5/2020-3014. We then move on to 5/2020-3052 at 35 Carisbrook Road.
Right. This application is a resubmission to application reference 5/201993, which was granted approval by the local planning authority in 2020. This proposal shows changes to the original application by way of the existing garage being converted into a storage area and a minor modification to the single door on the rear elevation, which is to be altered to a small window. The conversion of the garage does not appear to impact parking provision, as the 3 parking spaces which were originally provided in the permitted application are to remain and therefore sufficient for the 4-bedroom property.
Thank you.
No objection.
Thank you. Do I have any comments, or are we happy to go with no objection? Yep. Thank you.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you.
Yes. Are you all right with that, Paul? Thank you. 5/2020-3031, 19 Westminster Fields does not meet criteria for consideration. Similarly, 5/2020-3036, And we'll then move on to 5/2020 3039 at 5 Molescroft, which is the application where there have been considerable numbers of letters of objections lodged.
Okay, so we've got a few pictures for this one. The application site is shown to be the end section of the rear garden of 5 Molescroft, which backs onto the bottom of Farm Close. Farm Close is a cul-de-sac consisting of terrace properties with integral garages on one side of the road and the other side having the rear gardens of Penshurst Close fenced off to the roadway. Further down Farm Close are terrace properties on both sides of the road. The proposal is to demolish existing outbuildings and erect a single 2-bedroomed dwelling. This is the second application for this site. The previous application reference 5/16/1095 being refused by the local planning authority. This new proposal shows a 2-bedroom property designed with flat roofs and with a maximum height of 5.4 metres. On-site parking is provided with the formation of a new access, undercroft parking and 1 parking space. Electric gates will front the property. There is also provision of a bike store. The footprint of the building has been pulled in from the common boundary with neighbouring property number 7 Molescroft by between 4 metres and 4.8 metres in order to protect the amenity of the occupier. The front building line of the property has been reduced further inwards on the site. The first floor element of the proposal has also been pulled away from the side building line of the property, which appears to reduce any potential impact on the occupiers of number 5 Molescroft. There is shown to be 1 window on the ground floor elevation of the new building, which is to be for a dining room, and a proposed fence may prevent loss of amenity to the new occupiers. 1 window on the rear first floor elevation is to host an ensuite and therefore will be obscurely glazed. Amenity space is to the rear and side of the property and is stated at 70 square metres, which meets the requirements for a 2-bedroom property. The ground levels on the site drop from 1 metre to 1.5 from Molescroft down to Farm Close. And therefore, in order to protect the amenity of the new property, the proposal shows an 1800mm high fence with retaining wall, similar to an existing fence. 3 trees are shown to be removed, which are detailed as 2 fruit trees and 1 fir tree. It is stated in the application that there is sufficient space on the site for replanting. However, no plan for planting on a ratio of 2:1 has been provided. Consider expressed concern that although attempts have been made to address the reasons for refusal that were stated on the previous application, the proposal still appears to be an overdevelopment of the site, which gives the appearance of being cramped on the plot. The design of the building is out of keeping with the street scene, and there is no planting plan submitted for the substitution of the trees to be removed from the plot.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll invite comments. I'll go. Councillor de Court.
Just my quick comment is, given the number of problems with this outlined in the officer's report, but also from the objections, I think should be further than expressed concern to refusal.
I agree. Thank you. Councillor Turnbull, and then Councillor Cousin, then Councillor Drake.
Thanks, Chair. I agree. I was going to say I think it should be refused. Full stop. To me, it's a rabbit hutch rather than a house.
It's another case of trying to fit a property onto a site that's too small to take it.
If you look at the floor plan, I don't know where you store anything. I don't know where the services go. I mean, there's virtually no space for anything. Full stop.
Councillor Cousin.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would agree. It's not always obvious from the plans, but because of the levels, the different levels of the ground, and also it is very close to the neighbours. I think like 9-10 meters. It's really
yes.
So you are looking out like a massive brick wall. But
yes, I mean it looked like another sort of slab, didn't it? Massive wall. Councillor Drake.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's mainly being said. I think there are so many problems with this, but again, it's another attempt to squeeze a quart into a pint.
Yes, I was going to say it's another case of
And
Right, yes.
and I think the access problems are significant here. And finally, the not actually offering a proper solution as to how to replant the trees would again, to be consistent in the past, be a reason for refusal.
Yes, so I think we're all agreed that refuse.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. I think you agreed, didn't you, Paul? You put everybody, yes, everybody, yeah, everybody. Thank you. Sorry, that was Paul. And, right.
Sorry, my computer just decided to do an update, so I was my attention was taken to stop it, switching off.
It's very annoying when they do that in the middle of a meeting. 5/20/20 3071 24 Tufnells Way.
Okay. Right, thank you, Head. This application shows a proposal for a single-storey front extension, which will bring the garage, living area and hall forward on the building line. There is to be a two-storey side extension, which is proposed to be sited further back from the front line of the garage, and a further two-storey extension on the opposite side of the property. A single-storey extension is also planned for the rear of the dwelling house. The garage is to be converted into a gym, but sufficient parking provision will be retained, with 3 parking spaces being shown for the driveway. The existing property currently has 5 bedrooms, but the proposal shows that this will be reduced to a 4-bedroom property with larger upgraded rooms and living accommodation. There are no windows in habitable rooms, which will affect the amenity of neighbouring properties. The road that this property is situated in is made up of various types of dwellings of different designs and sizes, many of which appear to have had alterations and upgrades carried out. There appear to be no trees on the property which will be affected, and no detrimental impact to neighbouring properties and on the character of the street scene. No letters of objection have been received. Consider no objection.
Thank you. Do I have any comments, or are we happy to go with no objection? It looked okie-dokies to me. So if we can just go straight to no objection. Thank you. Then 5/20/20 3054 at 11 Barlings Road does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. Similarly for 5/20/20 3015 at 36 Tennyson Road, and for the application for 5/20/20 3044. And moving on to 5/20/20 3050 18 Highfield Avenue.
Okay, some pictures, thank you. The details submitted in this application are related to the previous application, reference 5/2020 2226, which was permitted by the local planning authority. There are some changes and some additions within this proposal, which are detailed as extending the ground floor rear extension by approximately 1 metre, adding a flat roof loft conversion to the house to house an additional bedroom, the addition of a parking space within the curtilage of the property, and changing the roof line to a full gable end. The increase in size to the ground floor extension is minimal and does not appear to impact on neighbouring properties. The loft conversion is large, but would not impact on the street scene, being sited at the rear of the property, and the change to the roof line would not have a detrimental impact on the character of the street scene. The existing street scene comprises of various semi-detached properties which are made up of dwelling houses with roof lines that are at odds with each other. The parking provision is, however, insufficient for a proposed 4-bedroom dwelling, and therefore does not meet policy 40 of the St Albans District Plan. Consider express concern that this proposal does not meet the requirements of policy 40 of St Albans District Plan review.
Thank you. Could I have comments? I guess it's whether we want to express concern or refuse on the failure to meet the parking policies. I have to say, I think it's Highfield Avenue, and parts of it, parking has got so difficult. You see cars on the pavement. So, Councillor Cowley, did you? No, I think it's really a matter of the, oh, Councillor Court.
I was just checking, sorry, with you, Councillor Farmer, that I'm thinking, given your comments and about the parking, whether we can go further than express concern, that's all. If we've got people parking on the pavement on that street, that's something that we really want to avoid, whether it's legal or
Yes,
not.
I mean, I think probably don't absolutely quote me on it, but I think
No.
that's the road that goes all the way round. And when you get down towards the bottom of it, when it goes into, I forgot the name of the road that goes across the bottom, that you do get parking.
Well,
Parking is it's certainly the parking on Highfield Avenue is getting very tight.
if it's against the St Albans plan, so we
Then
can
I think
raise
it doesn't meet the policies, so I think we refuse.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
Yes. So are we happy with that?
Yes, agreed.
Thank you.
5/20/20 3059 54 Meadow Walk.
Right. This proposal is to demolish the existing side extension, which is sited halfway along the side of the property, and to replace it with a two-storey side extension along the length of the building. Although the proposed extension appears to be pulled in from the common boundary of number 56 Meadow Walk, it appears to be dominant and out of keeping with the character of the street scene, which, although is of various designs, the properties which run along this side of the road suggest a sympathetic aspect of design. This proposal appears to be overbearing on neighbouring property number 56 Meadow Walk, with possible loss of amenity to habitable rooms. The application shows 4 proposed bedrooms with parking provision unchanged. It is unclear how many bedrooms are on the existing plans, as these are not detailed. No trees appear to be affected by the proposal. Consider recommend refusal. The proposed two-storey side extension is overly dominant and unsympathetic regarding the style and character of the properties that it is attached to, and may also have a detrimental impact on neighbouring property number 56 Meadow Walk in terms of loss of amenity. Concerns are expressed with regards to the lack of on-site parking provision for the proposal.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I invite comments? I mean, I think, yes, it is. I mean, I agree that I think it is fairly unsympathetic to the style, because there is a sort of cohesive look to that part of Meadow Walk. Councillor Turnbull.
Thanks, Chair. May I just ask, I think I'm right in saying, looking at the plans, the new boundary wall is going to be right of the wall, and right in the boundary of the plot. Would that be right?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Looking at the plans on my other screen, I think the new extension wall is right on the boundary. Is that
Yep.
right? And if that is the case,
yeah.
if that is the case, that makes me all the more keen to reject.
Well, it looks like, yeah, it might well be actually, looking at it.
Yes, I mean, it is overbearing and affects. Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It looks like it has been just looks like it's been pulled in a little bit there. Can you see? There's a bit of a
Higher up, Mim.
pardon? Higher up.
Higher up.
There. Can you see there's a bit there's a bit of a where's my pen?
Yes, I mean, yes, but
There's a bit of a gap between I can't.
Oh, I see. Well, okay, that's interesting, because the plans I'm looking at don't seem to show that.
Can you
Never
see
mind.
the gap? Can you see
Yeah,
the space?
yes.
I can see that there. It doesn't seem to show it on the plans. Anyway, I would still object.
Well, I'd still refuse, because I think it is. I think it's very unsympathetic to the street scene, and it is overbearing, and I think if we're recommending refusal, I'd include in the recommending refusal apparent lack of adequate parking on site in accordance with the policies.
Yep.
Okay, are we agreed on that? Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you.
5/2020-3061 at 41 Park Avenue North doesn't meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. And then moving on to 5/2020-3069, we then move to 20 Park Avenue South.
Okay. Right. The proposal in this application are small amendments to planning application, planning permission, 5/2020-1748. The amendments are for the double garage to be omitted and to be replaced by a gym with a swimming pool at the rear. The swimming pool is to be built next to the proposed lounge area, which will in turn be reduced in width in order to accommodate the size of the pool area. The proposed changes to the permitted previous application do not appear to impact on neighbouring properties, as there is ample room on the site and sufficient screening to prevent any loss of amenity. The loss of the garage will have no effect on parking provision for this property, as there is sufficient space at the front of this dwelling house. Consider no objection subject to the appropriate design and use of materials in the Harpenden Conservation Area. Now, there was one letter of objection received by St Albans District Council, stating that the front gates have been moved forward and weren't on the, they were further back on the previous application. However, I checked this, and the previous application which was permitted showed the gates in exactly the same position as they are on this application, so they haven't changed at all.
Thank you. Do I have any comments, or are we happy to go with, sorry, Councillor Court, did you want
Yes,
to comment?
please.
Yes,
Yeah, if I could.
please do.
It's a little bit of a philosophical one, just to know what we put in here, because we were quite clear, and I remember being part of the committee, that we refused it. Trees, highway conflict, bulk, no replacement planned, and that is what it is. But then the SADC permitted it, and they've got planning permission because that, like, the ref has ruled, and that's fine. But as these amendments are very small, we're now approving the amendment. So are we now, by that, approving the fact that we think this should have happened, should have happened in the first place? I just wondered how we approached that. Well, other people's views, really.
This is a new application, and they're applying for, they're not amendments to the old application. It's a completely new application, and they just want to make some changes. So it's a completely new planning application, and they just want to, although they've had the previous application permitted, so everything, even though we objected last time, it went through. And so this time they've just put in a new application, and they want to make some more changes basically to the property, which is what we're looking at now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, could I just say then, it absolutely makes sense, thank you. No objection, if we wrote consider no objection to this small change or something like that, we're clear what we're not objecting to. I know, which is, as you rightly say, we can only object to what's on there. Just is that acceptable? And that.
Well, I think we could object. I think we could put in wording, probably, couldn't we, like sort of no objection to this application incorporating changes to the previous application, something like that. Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you. If I understand what's just been said, this is a new application, not an application to amend something that's already been approved.
No.
So it's a new application. I mean, I wasn't on the committee when this came through the first time, and I would have objected to it. I would have turned it down, because I think it's adding more South Fork type properties to Park Avenue, which I think is totally out of keeping for Harpenden. So my reaction is, as a point of principle, I would reject this application.
Councillor Cowley.
Thank you, Chair. No, I think I broadly would agree with Councillor de Court's suggestion on no objection to the changes to the original application. I think I had a look at it and I agreed with some of the sentiments of Councillor Court about the fact that, you know, last time we were very unhappy with the application, but I just think if we're I don't think that, you know, if they were to refuse this, I don't think that the house that would end up getting built would be any better or worse than if this went through. So I'd be inclined to just let them make the small changes they want to make, but note that, you know,
Yes.
we're only not objecting to those changes rather than to the principle of the development as a whole, if that makes sense.
Yes, this is it does say it's a resubmission. I mean, I think I think it's difficult to refuse an application that is substantially the same as an application that was approved. So if we could just go, unless anybody else wants to comment, if we just go to the vote, if we agree with that recommendation.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you. 5/20/23/092 at 19 Bowers Way does not meet the criteria required for consideration by the committee. Then moving on to agenda item 8, which is simply for noting, unless there's anybody spotted anything they want to comment on, if there are tree works applications registered the week of the 15th of the 10th, 21. Agenda item 9 for noting is technical applications registered the week ending 8th of January 2021. Agenda item 10, which again for noting is a weekly list of the decisions taken between the 1st of January 2021 and the 7th of January. Just look through. I think well, it's really just for noting. I'm just having a quick look to see if there's anything particular to note. I don't think there is. And then I think that brings us to the end of the agenda, except to note the next meeting will be on the 23rd of February, again by Zoom, and to declare the meeting closed at 20:52. And thank you very much, councillors and officers. We seem to have managed to work our way through a fairly large agenda.